Hey guys, do you have an xTool F1 and you're struggling to engrave on jewelry? This video is here to help you. So I'm going to walk you through step by step what my process is to go from having a jewelry blank to having a finished necklace or money clip or whatever. I'm going to show you two different projects in here, and in those projects I'm going to show you the engraving side of things and I'm going to show you the setting up side of things. We're going to be using xTool Studio, the latest software from xTool. We're going to be doing this on an F1. I'm going to walk you through step by step, not just what settings to use, but why I use those settings. I've done countless hours of experimentation and testing, and I've got a very specific reason why I use the settings that I do. I do want to say up front that sadly, you're not going to be able to really anneal like a lot of people are wanting to do with the F1. The problem is you need to put several hundred degrees Celsius into the metal for a sustained amount of time in order to anneal. If you have a more powerful laser like the xTool F1 Ultra, the F2 Ultra, or any other 20 watt or higher fiber laser, then you can anneal just fine. If you want to see how to do that, click up in one of these corners and I will show you how to do that on an F1 Ultra. On an F1 though, with just a 2 watt, you're not going to be able to really anneal. Now you're also not going to get a very deep mark, but it's not going to be a super smooth black mark either. Either way, it's a phenomenal engraving, it's a great experience, and I've done countless pieces of jewelry with this method. So I'm going to walk you through, like I said, step by step from how I arrived at my settings to how I enter them in to what it all means in xTool Studio. Before we dive into that, I do want to give a quick shout out to Katie over at Monarch Pine for being the sponsor of this video. This is our first sponsored video, and I couldn't think of a better sponsor to have than Monarch Pine. I've been using the blanks from Katie over at Monarch Pine for well over a year now. I absolutely love them, and my customers love them too. I only pick sponsors for this channel for products that I actually use and want to put my name behind, and absolutely Monarch Pine falls into that category. If you're interested in picking up some Monarch Pine products, I've got a discount code in the description. It's just simply Created Workshop. There's also a link in the description. Shopping with that link does give us a little bit of a kickback, but also if you use that code, you'll save 10% off at checkout. So if you've not used Monarch Pine's products yet, head on over to the Monarch Pine website. Katie just reopened after restocking everything for the holidays, and she's got a plethora of things for you to choose from. Everything from necklaces to bracelets, rings, keychains, money clips, you name it, she's got it. All of the Monarch Pine blanks are also made of surgical stainless steel, and they are coated with real 14 karat gold or rose gold if you go with those colors. Again, thank you so much to Katie at Monarch Pine for sponsoring this video. And with that out of the way, let's dive over into xTool Studio and take a look at everything you're going to see and how to set up your first project. Okay, when you open up xTool Studio, this is going to be what you're going to see to start with. And if you're looking for an overview video of xTool Studio, again, links in the top. I'll have links in the descriptions to my xTool Studio overview. We're not really going to go over that right now. We're just going to start by hitting New Project. Now, I am going to have to change my workspace because I have this set up for the P3, but we'll go ahead and select my F1, which it might not want to. There we go. Let's switch it to the F1. So this is going to be the workspace that you're used to seeing with your F1. Now, to get started, we're going to be doing some test cards, and these are the test cards that I do. In fact, this is the test card that I did for this video. You can see some engravings on there. The reason I start with test cards is test cards are $4 for this entire card, or right around there, give or take a couple pennies. But get some test cards. These are going to have their weight in gold, and not because this is the gold color, but this is going to be how you really can dial in your settings. So to build a test card, we're going to start by building a test array. With the F1, you don't have too many parameters that you need to worry about. But we are going to start by typing a name on here. We're going to type my wife's name. If you were at xTool, or if you were at my xTool class in Next Level Laser, you know that I always use my wife's name when I'm doing tests. And here you can see this. Now, this is just my favorite font, Santa Catalina. Link below. It's from Creative Fabrica. I love using this font. It just looks great. We're going to now resize this to be a height of 5 millimeters. Why 5 millimeters? 5 millimeters is about the height that I'll do for a typical bar necklace. And so when I'm doing these test cards, one of the things I love about xTool Studio is it allows me to do a test with an actual graphic. In Lightburn, I can only do a test grid with a square. Squares are not representative of all the fine lines that you're going to have with these really scripty fonts that you're going to put on necklaces. So by doing this with xTool Studio, you can actually just generate the exact graphic that you would engrave or something very similar. This gives me a lot of very thin lines and is going to let me see how I can get those thin details out. So again, love that xTool Studio does this. We're now going to select here, and we're going to set up some base parameters first, just to get the laser ready to go. For starters, over in this side, we're going to change it from blue light to IR. Yes, you can use the blue light to heat up the metal. That can almost sort of give you an anneal finish, but I prefer the finish of the IR engraving. So we're going to go with IR, and that's what I recommend you use as well. Next, power. Since this is only a 2-watt laser, we're running this at 100% power. Our starting speed for engraves will be 80, is set it to 80, but we're going to set it to 5, 1 pass, and down to 300 lines per centimeter. Leave engraving mode bi-directional. So now we've got our graphic, we've got our base settings. Let's go ahead and click on the applications button right here, and then material test array. Now, as far as power goes, I set my power on the F1 when I'm doing a jewelry test to 100 and 100 with 1 column. I only want to run at 100% power. I don't want to run any less than that. For speed, I will typically set a low end speed of 2, that's the slowest it'll go, and an up end speed of 7. And then I will make sure that I have 6 rows that lets me get all of the numbers in there, 2 through 7. I'll bring my spacing down so that way everything is kind of just stacked on top of each other. And that's okay with a graphic like this. I'm just really wanting to maximize my space. So with all of those settings in, we're going to hit done. And you say, Patrick, what did you just generate? Well, I just generated, as you can see here, an engraving test for the F1 that is going to change from 2 to 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 millimeters a second. Doing this will allow me to see how this looks on all of the different materials that I have. This is something that you're going to need to run on all of the colors that you want to engrave on. While I typically use the same settings, which is 100% power, 5 speed, 300 lines per centimeter for my gold, silver, and my rose gold. If you have any other colors, or if you just want to make sure everything's dialed in, and you should run this on a test card for all of the materials you plan to use. So with this is still taking up a little bit more space than I want it to. We're going to select it and ungroup it. We know everything is at 100% power. We don't need the engrave test up here. We do, however, want to take and move those numbers there, and we'll bump those over a little bit. I'm going to shrink the word speed down and move that in there as well. I'm going to select all of those, change it from blue light to IR, again at 100% power, 5 speed, engrave, and now I'm going to change it from blue light to IR at 100% power, 5 speed, and 300 lines per centimeter. This is it. You've got your stuff now. You've got your graphic, you're ready to go. And if you select each of these, you can see what the settings are. You can modify them later if you want to. Make sure everything is set to 300 lines per centimeter. But now, what you're going to do is frame it. Now, I always hit the little arrow, and I'll change it from rectangle to outline. So when I'm framing it, I see a better outline of what I'm doing. If I don't need it, then I'll sometimes leave it on rectangle, but I prefer to use outline whenever I'm outlining everything. So I will position this on my work and get it moved over into the area that it needs to be. Once it's there, we're going to make one more change. I have a whole video on this. Again, all these will be linked in the description below. but you're going to want to enable smart processing. You say, Patrick, what is smart processing? Well, to start with, let's see how long this would take to run as is. So if we were to send this to the laser right now, this would take 33 minutes and 1 second to complete. That's a long time. If we hit the little arrow, change it from auto planning to user defining, and then toggle on smart right here under processing settings. And now we go back, we just dropped that 33-minute engrave time to 7 minutes, 25 seconds. That's dropping it by about 60 to 70%. And that is a game changer, an absolute game changer. I'll show you this again when we get to actually designing a graphic to engrave. But for now, this is what we're looking at. And if you want to know what this does, if we go into viewing the path preview and we start to go through it, all it does is draws everything out instead of scanning side to side. And that's where the time savings comes in. I wouldn't use this on all materials, typically wood and stuff like that. Or if I'm moving slower, I don't, slower on wood or slower on other types of materials like that, I won't use smart fill. But on metal, it's totally fine. I've done this on dozens, if not hundreds of pieces, and I've never had a single one come out bad. So this is going to be what it is. This will take 7.5 minutes to run. You can go ahead and send that to your laser, watch it run. I'll show you some footage of it right here as it's running. That way you can kind of see what it looks like as it's engraving that. Here you see it engraving the test grid. This is sped up quite a bit, but I did want to mention that while on the F1 Ultra, I recommend defocusing your laser, on the F1, make sure that it is in focus to get the best engrave. I did a lot of testing here, and the only way to get a good engrave is to be in focus, but you can see it engraving this right here, and the end result looks really, really good. I love the way that these engraves came out. Okay, now that you've run your test grid and you have your card, I want you to look at that and make sure that you're using the settings that you like the best. Again, for me, it's 5 millimeters a second, but they all look good, so just kind of go with whatever one you prefer. Now, you're going to take your graphic. I'm going to use the exact same graphic. You can retype it, you can redraw it, you can do whatever you want for your graphics. And we're going to take and we're going to put it on the bed. I typically will align it to the center of the bed. And then from there, I will align the necklace to it. And you'll see that in a moment. Again, we're going to use the outline framing. The outline framing draws the actual word and allows us to see and make sure that nothing is going to fall off when doing that. So use the outline framing as your best friend. Once you're lined up, once you have everything ready to go and you've chosen your settings, you're ready to engrave. It's that simple. It really is. You do your tests. Sometimes you do multiple tests. I have multiple test cards out in the shop completely full from doing test after test after test to really dial things in. But if you nail it on the first try, if you like the results you get off of your first test, just use it. Line it up and engrave. Now we're going to go away from smart processing for a second before we show how to do this. To start with, if you were going to do this graphic, this Marlene graphic at 12.5 millimeters wide and 5 millimeters tall, at my typical settings, it would take right around 3 minutes, 50 seconds, almost 4 minutes. That's not terrible, but when you're at a show and you're trying to engrave stuff on site, that can add up quickly. So let's change that away from auto back to user and then toggle on smart. So remember, 3 minutes, 50 seconds is what we were looking at for this. Now we're looking at 44 seconds. Wow. That's over 3 minute savings. You can now do 4 to 5 of these necklaces in the same amount of time as you would one before, just under 4. And so this is a game changer, absolute game changer. This will make things so much faster when you're at those shows doing on-site engraving. But really, that's all there is to it. You're ready. You are now ready to send that job to the laser. I'm going to show you a couple jobs running on some projects that I've done in the past, but that's it. Run your test grids, pick up some test cards, and be confident in what you're doing. You say, Patrick, I don't know. How do I know if people are going to like it? What if they don't like the way that it engraves? What if they would prefer it to be smoother? What if they would prefer it to be deeper? Here's what I can tell you about that is you're using your F1 Ultra to engrave jewelry. Engrave it and offer that as your option and don't offer anything else. When I went away from offering every option under the sun to a few fonts and limited amounts of engraving on a handful of pieces of jewelry, my sales went up, my stress went down, and my customers, they didn't care. So be confident in what you offer. Doing these test grids already sets you apart from the rest of the crowd. Most people, when they're going to do an engraving, they'll come right over here to this unknown materials section, and they'll choose 304 stainless steel, hit apply, and now look at this, the one-click set. If we change it to IR, it's going to want to set, there's not even super great things in here, but we're talking a bunch of random settings, nothing like what we got, no results like what we have. And, you might go back in here and look for, let's see, gold and metal. So here we go. We'll pick 18 karat gold plated 304 stainless steel. And look at that. That's, again, using the blue light, not the IR. If we switch over to the IR, it's user defined. It wants us to use the blue light. If we click on stuff, it's staying in IR. So it is using the IR for that. But none of these are the type of results that we get. You saw on what I showed you how black mine was, how good it looked, and theirs just don't look like that. And so if you're just using the one-click set panel, that's a great starting point, but that's not going to set you apart from the crowd. Doing this, building out your test grids, so that way you can see exactly which one of these you want to do, this sets you apart. So be confident in your engravings. Know that what you're offering is quality and stand behind it. That's going to be what drives sales when you're at those local shops. That's going to be what drives sales on your website. That's going to be what drives sales on your social media. Be confident, confident, confident. If you have any more questions about engraving these jewelry blanks, there's a link to 2 different Facebook groups in the description. One is Monarch Pines group. Absolutely join Katie's group. It's a phenomenal group of people. Everybody in there is so helpful. But then I've also got a link to my personal Facebook group for Created Workshop. Join that as well. There's a group of great people in there that love helping others. And if you say, listen, Patrick, I just cannot get my laser dialed in, then there's also a link in the description for you to book a training with me. I will train you one-on-one. We'll be on a video call. You can do things live with me right there. I can see your screen if you give me access to it, and I can walk you through step by step on exactly what's going wrong and how to fix it. I offer either 30-minute or 1-hour trainings, and we'll have you up and going in no time at all. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up button. If you weren't a fan of it, there's a button for that too. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below. I do my best to reply to every comment that I can. And as I already mentioned, if there's a product in this video that you're interested in, it's very likely linked down below. If you don't see a link, again, leave a comment and I'll get you a link as soon as I can. If you guys really want to see more content like this, then the biggest thing you can do to help me is to hit that subscribe button and turn on those bell notifications. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.